Welcome to another episode here at the Trailblazers Talk with your host, Joseph Ortega. And every week we bring you an episode with entrepreneurs who blaze their own trails to success. And today's a special episode because I have two gentlemen who built this massive company here in Northern Nevada, from family photography to being one of the largest production sets in Northern Nevada, and have scaled past 7 figures. So today I have Chris and Brandon with me. How you guys doing?
Very well.
Doing great. Thank you for asking.
Love it. You know, I do these talks because when I'm trying to get motivated, when I need to be fed life as an entrepreneur, we have our ups and downs, I go to podcasts. And hearing stories from people who built success is like that fire that, people need ignited, because entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. Some days you'll win, some days you don't. And the days you don't, you got to feed yourself to get back up. So I'm really excited because in this space you're in, my audience, there's many people in my audience who aspire to be you guys. And I think just hearing your story from the come up to where you're now and where you're going is going to be that fire that my audience needs. So let me ask you both one question you guys can answer individually. Out of everything you've done to this point, what is one important takeaway that if you could give somebody who needs like a push today, what would that takeaway be?
A wise man once did say, when it's good, don't think that that's going to be the end all be all. It's going to be bad at some point again. But when it's bad, same thing. Don't think that it's the end all be all right then. You will have better days. My response to that question, though, is a little bit serendipitous. You got the Dream shirt on.
Yes, sir.
We're here at Dream Films. My biggest takeaway is don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to think much bigger than where you're currently at, where you're headed. My goal was always to focus on a much bigger sort of outcome that I could even imagine could be possible. But because you swing for the stars, it just helps your entire aura get there or whatever. I can't really articulate it the way I was thinking it, but don't be afraid to dream, because that's really what we've been all about since we started. And man, we're so much farther than I ever thought we would be.
Yeah, and you guys have only been in the game since 2016.
Yeah, we started in 2016. I was a family photographer. Really just picked up my first camera, honestly. And I was always into cameras, but I got my very first camera in 2015, I think it was, a Canon 60D. Now they're worth about $300, but still an awesome camera. DSLR was like at the beginning of the DSLR sort of craze when that camera came out. I'm a little bit late to the game, but yeah, family photographer. And then, I'll let you ask questions from there. But
No, I think that's good, because dreaming big as an entrepreneur is why people get into business. And in the space that you're in, people start from home. They start from whatever they have, picking up a camera, and starting there. And I think the most important part, in my opinion, about dreaming big is seeing where it could turn to, right? Because like this space we're in, if someone's picking up their camera for the first time, they're already thinking of this if they're dreaming big. There's a lot we could go into, but what are 3 important things that you've learned about building this from starting up that moment, picking up that camera in 2015 to this? What are 3 important things?
One major thing that I've learned is you can dream big, but you really need to be strategic in how you plan out your steps. It's pretty easy to take a misstep. It's pretty easy to put your trust in.
What's a misstep that you've taken?
I was about to say, it's kind of like it's easy to put trust into some people out there, and it's hard to find quality people. Luckily, I'm surrounded by nothing but really efficient.
It took a lot of people to get to this group too.
It took a lot of people.
Right,
yeah.
so there's a lot of people that we hired, we tried out part-time, full-time, that they didn't work out, and some of them had the credentials. I mean, they worked for great companies. Great resumes, and then they start working. I'm like, man, what the fuck what are you doing? Can we cuss on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. I wasn't sure this is how crazy can I get? But no, some of the people didn't cut it,
Yeah.
Straight up, they talked a big game and they didn't deliver.
Yes,
And-
missteps could be hiring the wrong person, somebody
Yeah.
that
Right.
A, doesn't fit with your vibe, or is just talking a game and
Yeah.
doesn't really, maybe they're there to just kind of slide through life.
Yeah.
That's one misstep. I don't know what.
Oh, well, that was one of the biggest ones because it's for such a small team. You know, we were 2 people, 3 people. If you hire a 4th person, you know, a quarter of the equation, and then that 25% doesn't work out, that's a big misstep. But of course, you know, then we took action, and then those people are no longer here. I think we have a core team now that we can build on. So,
So do you feel like a lot of the success that you've acquired over the years came from hiring the right people?
Definitely, we've been blessed as a company because we've gotten opportunities. We were, you know, all of us right here went through something that was totally unique in our existence, which is the pandemic.
Yeah.
And going through something like that while we're trying to form a business, you know, had its ups and downs, but it was just, we've been blessed with different situations that have provided opportunities that a lot of other people just don't get. Like going through the pandemic, we were faced with either closing or getting into live streaming. And so we got into live streaming at the time. That was, I think, our very first live stream. We bought our live streaming equipment because of the pandemic, and that really transformed our business. So it's opportunities like that. Hiring key people at the right time is also pretty integral for any company. It was definitely for us. But yeah, I mean, we're a team-based business, so the success can't be counted towards either of us or us individually. It's us as a team.
well, let me add to that real quick. By the way, my neck is getting stiff every time I look at it. Like, it's a terrible posture. It was just me and Brandon for the majority of it, and we had some part-time staff, but very part-time in the beginning. So what I was really trying to say for the first a year and a half, 2 years, it was a very, very small team.
When do you know is like the right time to grow? Because you guys are hands-on. Like, are you like prior to adding more people to your team, you guys were hands-on with cameras. You guys are picking up phones, sales, you know, running the whole operations, YouTube. So like, when's the right time, or when you felt like it was the right time to say, you know what, like we need to step away from doing everything and fill in the gaps?
When Brandon was about to get a heart attack several times, that's when
Oh, that's
we had to
important
decide.
to talk about.
No, we both did everything. I never did any post-production work.
Okay.
But when I got on board, I didn't have much to do with cameras. I liked it, but I didn't know anything about it. So then I started going to every single shoot. It was just the 2 of us on every single shoot. And yes, you know, sales, phone calls, accounting, hiring, firing. It was small, right? So, but you can add to that. I'm
I
sure.
will add, we are still hands-on. We're still out there
We are.
every day. Chris and I just went to a shoot on Friday. We have a shoot tomorrow that we're going to be both on. Chris answers 99.9% of our phone calls. We're very hands-on with all of our clients. So I think the right time to grow, I've only been successful at this business. I have been an entrepreneur for the past 15 years or so, and I've tried other businesses. One of them was relatively semi-successful, but this is by far the biggest thing I've ever been a part of, starting it. And so I can't really speak for every business out there, but I can say for us, the perfect time to grow is when your current situation reaches its maximum capacity and it's like a little bit stressed out, like stressed out to maybe have a heart attack or something, which I don't recommend.
Yeah.
But once you reach your maximum capacity, just push it and push it and push it until you have to get another employee. I have heard of people out there hiring people too early, and it can suffocate you, trying to. And we were almost suffocated a few times, you know, trying to support another person's full-time salary at the same time. Huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, that person will have to come before you. But anyways, I think the perfect time is when you reach that stress capacity where you're stressed your current situation out so much you get another employee, then that relieves the stress, and you continue to grow until you reach that stress level again.
Ideally, slightly before that point. That would be ideal.
Slightly before the heart attack.
But we had part-time staff, right? And then we couldn't justify bringing some of the guys on full-time because in this business, trying to forecast was, until very recently, was very tough. You know, 1 month we might have, 20, 30 shoots. Another month we might only have 2 or 3. But then we're doing a lot more post-production. but how do you balance that, right? So we have a lot more contract clients now where we can forecast, much better than before. And also, it's not 99.9% anymore. It's, let's say, 95% because we have Brian. We have Brian now who answers 5% of all calls now.
Brian, our sales director's sitting over here doing some behind the scenes.
Yes. But no, super tough to forecast.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have some larger clients that hire us on yearly basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis.
Yeah.
Ideally, I would only like to have like 20 large clients that hire us every single month. That's in the perfect world, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody might call us and like, hey, can you fly to Rosarito and film this MMA fight, next month? And we might already have a job. So, no, we got a lot better about filling up the calendar more consistently. And so now we can hire because we're doing so.
Yeah.
But prior it was very tough. We could tell, this person like, hey, we have a job for you for the next, 2 months for sure. But then third, fourth, sorry, we might not need you at all. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you guys are saying no more than you are saying yes as a company.
We try not to get to a point. There was a point, great question, because, or great point to make, I guess, because when we were reaching a point where we needed to get more employees, man, we were working like 200 hours a month. Like it was like 60, 70 hours a week. We were out every day, 7 days a week, we were working so many hours that we were having to, and we were blessed. I mean, we were seriously, I'll never be, try to like toot our horn or anything. I really count myself blessed because we got so just, I think, lucky or something. We put ourselves out there, but we had so much business at one point that we literally couldn't take anymore. We were turning down. We had to say, I'm so sorry, we just cannot take anymore. We actually got a bad negative Google review because we
The only one.
Our
the
only
one
Google reviews because we couldn't help this person. But yeah, so during that time, we were stressed out. There's going to be a time where you have to say no to business. But right now, we can afford, we have a good crew here, and we have a few freelancers that we also hire as contractor basis from time to time. So typically we try not to say no to business currently.
We'll take the luck out of it. Preparation meets opportunity, I would say.
Yes,
That's
nice.
right.
That's good.
That's right. But no, I mean, a little bit of luck, of course. We'll take a little bit of luck.
A little bit of luck, yeah.
But I think we made the right moves at the right time. And yes, sometimes you get an incoming call that might change the next, 3 months.
I want to touch on something because, like, my own personal belief is I don't believe in luck. I believe that if you show up every day, even on the bad days, like, you build momentum. Like, I think, like, luck is just, like, the word people use if they don't really understand it. Because it seems like you guys show up every day and you give it your all, like, bad, good, crazy in between. And you guys are consistent on, like, navigating. So, like, I'm curious, like, how do you guys feel from, like, starting this as a family photographer to now, like, looking at, in hindsight, looking at everything? Do you feel that because you showed up and you stuck with it, like, do you feel like that's why, like, you're blessed with these opportunities today?
And showed up not only during the day when you're supposed to be working, to touch on what you were saying too, and exactly tie this all in, I thought of number 2 for takeaways.
Okay.
Preparation meets opportunity, and showing up doesn't just mean showing up during the day. I personally study the industry 24/7. When I'm here, we're working and everything. When I go home, all I watch is YouTube videos. I watch other successful people. I watch other up and coming people that have failed, people that are going through problems. I watch all this stuff on YouTube, and I'm preparing myself, and we, build this knowledge so that when opportunity does knock, we have that base to stand on. So, thinking about from when I was just a family photographer to now, I mean, I try not to think of it because my mind is just blown by what has happened over the past 4 or so years. But I mean, we went from getting excited about, we got our first commercial, and we went out and shot this Bloody Mary video of this bar. This cocktail lounge had created this really cool Bloody Mary.
It was a great video, man.
And we went out and shot. We were so excited, and then
is this on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, you can. We
I'll
can
put it
send
on
you a
the show
link.
notes,
Yeah.
But that was kind of like our first like sort of bigger project together, and then today we're working for like the History Channel had Stone Cold Steve Austin in our studio, and we had all these musicians and like just
John
thinking,
Kay.
John Kay from Steppenwolf.
Born to be wild. Yeah.
We
still rocking.
It's just crazy and mind blowing to think. That's why I said don't stop dreaming, because I would never have thought I'd be like shaking Stone Cold Steve Austin's hand.
How did it feel?
In my studio? I never even thought I would have a studio.
Did he Stone Cold stunner?
He was, and that's just the bottom line. He was scary. I don't know. Chris got.
I mean, with his jacket on, he looked like just like an average old man. He took it off. He was jacked, man.
He's still jacked.
Super jacked. I mean, I got a photo before he left with him, and he had his beer up, and I was drinking a Lipton black tea. I wish I could have changed it. I wasn't gonna change it in post, I guess. But no, he was a nice guy. It's just when he first showed up here, no agent, just himself and his Escalade or whatever.
Gotta give
Super
props
nice guy.
to somebody as famous and as well known and probably as wealthy as Stone Cold Steve Austin is. He literally showed up here totally humble. He drove his own like '89 Ford Bronco. He came into the studio. Other people come into the studio and they have entourages or they have the Hollywood attitude or whatever. He was just like, "What's up, man? I'm here to film," and like he did his whole thing, totally respectful and humble, and like it was just cool, man. I mean, props to Steve for that.
That's awesome.
But Joseph mentioned the showing up part. I want to go back to that real quick. I think also, in my opinion at least, when in the beginning days when we got hired, let's say for $1,000 job, we try to make it look like a $2,000 job. We try to over deliver. Try to over deliver because that brings the client back. Mm-hmm. And of course, at one point you have to adjust your pricing because you have to, and you hire staff, more overheads, new studio. But no, over deliver and under promise. Sometimes I over promise maybe, but then we have to over deliver even more.
Yeah.
So we can go to the next one now.
Like pretty much set your standards higher, but set your delivery standards even further.
Yeah, exactly. We try to give our all to every job that we get, even now. Sometimes it gets hard, but we always try to over deliver, and I need to work on under promising.
Even the small jobs, because they turn into something big. You never know, or just one referral away from like a big job, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that's important because, like, if I look back in my own life, I thought my massive success moments would come from like this like big event, but it came from one person. Like everything, like you're one person away. Like, what's that law? I think the 6 degree law or something. Like you're always like 6 people away from the opportunity you need or something like that.
Yes, 7 degrees.
Or 7 degrees, something like
6 degrees. Something like that. I have heard that. But
yeah, that's crazy. So do you guys feel with every client that you over deliver, more opportunities come from that client?
Yeah, and some of them might be, in the end we realize, hey, it was a waste of time giving that extra, 200%. But if you think like that, you're never going to over deliver. You're never going to get that referral. You're never going to get that client back.
That's important.
So I think it's very important. Of course, to a certain degree, we can't, give $10,000 if they pay us $500 every single time. But no, and then also, new staff will add to that production quality. Mm-hmm. Will add to a faster turnaround time. Will add to a more professional presentation of our organization. So yeah,
it's funny just to say, you can pass on that one handshake.
Right.
It's so easy to like, oh, how's it going? And kind of brush somebody off or whatever it is, or pass somebody at the store. But you stop and talk to that person that could end up being life-changing. We got our biggest client by far ever, a billionaire. We met a billionaire on a website. It was like Craigslist or something. And just because we happened to log on that day or whatever, just like what you said, the bigger opportunities can come from the smallest interactions.
That's crazy. So were you guys like listing like your studio on Craigslist or a website similar to that?
Yeah, we would from time to time. I mean, because when you're starting out, you don't have like a ton of marketing budget. We didn't, so we went to be resourceful, and we would post on Facebook and use our social networks, but also visit like Craigslist and start posting stuff on Craigslist. We didn't have a studio. I'm sorry. when we did meet that client, we did have our very first studio, which is smaller than the room we're in right now. It was basically we had our desks right next to each other, and we had a small shooting space. And that's when we met that client, and it was on some kind of website like Craigslist, where you post and then somebody replies, and he wanted some small job at the time, and we helped him out, and it ended up being a huge tech billionaire. But and we worked with him for a few years after that, still work for him. But yeah, I mean, being resourceful is definitely another huge takeaway. If you don't have a marketing budget, utilize your social networks, utilize your friends and family. Our friends and family didn't really help us too much, but going out there and being creative with marketing, we went and did a sort of, it was like a small business networking event, and that was
You guys hosted it.
We didn't host it. Well, we at the very first one we did, we just went to one.
Okay, gotcha.
And and that was pretty helpful too. Getting out there, kind of getting outside your comfort zone. I think a lot of video people and content creators. Maybe content creators could be a little bit more outgoing, but I feel like in my experience, video professionals are a little bit more introverted and quiet. And I had to push myself to get out there and be in front of people and talk to people and pass my business cards out. And that's also been pretty helpful for us.
Nice. Do you feel like, do you still do that now, like to this day, or is that something you've done early?
Well, after the pandemic, things got kind of weird, and a lot of live events stopped. I was actually thinking about it last night. I don't know how everybody else feels, but it feels like even though we're a couple years past that, we went to a local Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there were a few people, but it wasn't like a packed house. And I was wondering if there still are events out there where you can find a good amount of people at these. That's wrong of me to say, because we do some events where there's still a ton of business people that you can meet in contact with. It's not a waste of time by any means, but but it's weird. It's hard to find bigger events that aren't like at a Chamber of Commerce or that one event that we attended. I don't think they exist anymore because of the pandemic. I think they're gone. But yeah, if there were some kind of a local. It was more like a home show. I don't really know how to, like a small expo or something where there was all these companies and they set up these tables, and, public people came and business people came, and it was super cool. It was at a very public, where the ice skating rink is here in Reno, at the park. And I wish there were things like that. Yeah, because I would love to attend, but I haven't heard of any in a long time.
Definitely like in Vegas for sure, in California. I think just like the more like larger cities. But I do have a question when I ask both of you guys. I think it's important that people like hear like because you touched on a little bit. You said outside of here, you're constantly studying the industry, but do you study or do you read any books that has to do like personal development or leadership or anything outside of your space? Do you put like hours into building that part of you?
I'm personally more tech-minded, so I am hardcore focused on the tech. I have a problem. My wife and kids get upset at me because I'm literally studying tech and the technology of video production every day. But I did buy a book. I bought Jordan Belfort wrote a book called The Way of the Wolf, which if you're trying to be a salesperson, regardless of how you feel personally about some of these types of people, that guy has some really good insight in how to better sell and how to present yourself. So I did read that book recently, but other than that, it's been a long time since I've read any personal development books. But because I'm also fully into the tech side.
I mean, that makes sense.
Developing that.
For sure.
It's a good movie. Chris? Good movie too.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Fantastic movie.
It is a good movie.
That's my favorite quote still to date. The short answer is no. Reading books regarding personal development, no. But I'm trying to always work on myself and develop my skill by interacting with the clients in a different way. So I'll try to give it a little bit extra on the phone and really almost, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but not just have that vendor-client relationship, but really have, more than that. it doesn't need to be friends. I don't need to call him or her like on a weekly basis and say, hey, you want to hang out? But, get comfortable making sure they know both ways. You're loyal, you can be trusted, you're the right person for the job. And yes, I think after every single phone call I have, there is a little bit that you take away from that. I'm not a big reader, no. Yes, I go on YouTube. Yes, I watch videos. Maybe sometimes it might be a motivational video, but in the end, I think everybody's a little bit different. Even though there's a lot of good books out there that were referred to us, like, hey, you guys got to read this, but it might not work for everyone the same way. So for me, it's personal interaction with everybody here at work and people we work with and for.
We get an unfair advantage on that too, because we work for so many personal growth type people. One of our longest client ever was a men's personal growth coach. Oh, nice. A big coach, and we worked with them for over 3.5 years, very often and very consistently, and we gained tons of knowledge through that. Plus,
can I ask who he is?
Yeah, David Mailer's Man on Fire was. Nice. It's a traveling men's group that helps men become better husbands and fathers. Flew us everywhere from Connecticut, the East Coast, to California, and everywhere basically in between. Once a month, we would do their immersions. They call them a week-long event where they help men become better husbands and fathers. And through that week, we're filming for about 50 hours, nonstop, about 10, 12 hours a day on the big days. And so we're sitting there and we get the program for free. Yeah. And we get to learn all the tools and everything that they have. Plus our other clients. I mean, we worked for Joseph McClendon, who was a trainer for Tony Robbins. He was one of Tony Robbins' head trainers. We've worked with many personal growth. So no badness over to Chris for not reading it, because we get it every week.
No, going back to Joseph McClendon, we filmed it for 4 or 5 days, and that was very educational. That was because I don't know how much they're selling the whole video series for, probably a lot of money, but that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Actually being able to listen to him 3 or 4 days minimum. I mean, we're talking long days too. So that was, 50 hours right there you got for free.
Nice.
And yes, several people we have filmed that I want to say I took something away from. Several other individuals, motivational speakers that we have filmed over the years. And even us doing so many testimonies, for other big clients, you take a little bit away from that too. So maybe just because we hear so much in person, maybe that's why we don't read as much. But yeah, that's a good point. Joseph McClendon was a big one too.
No, he's good. I love his content. What motivates you guys? Like what makes you get up every day and show up? What's your motivation now? Because I know starting off, your motivation was probably getting to where you're at today, right? That was the big picture. What's your big picture now that's propelling you forward?
And I hope I never stop dreaming, because even though we've grown farther than I ever would have imagined, my goal is still farther than what I can imagine. I was lucky enough to be flown to CBS Studios in Television City down in Hollywood, and seeing how they operate on the show that I helped on that day became my kind of next goal. Right now we have a great crew of about 8 or so people that work with us, but man, I'd love to have 80 down there one day, or down there. I'd love to have 80 people surrounding me one day working on huge projects. We're getting into more multi-camera broadcasts and things these days, and those are so exciting. And that's just kind of where I want to head, is to larger productions, a larger crew size, just really exciting, important work.
A big factor, and I'll give you a quick backstory on this. When I got on board, I don't know if you want to use this or not, but COVID happened in March of 2020, right around my birthday, and they let a lot of people go in my old company. I was doing sales for many years for several companies, and they let me go. And Brandon mentioned prior to that already, hey, you want to work with me? You want to work with me? And it was always, it was a risk, right? Because you don't know where it's going to go. I was like, hey, I need to make X amount of money, blah, blah, blah. I need securities, insurance, blah, blah, blah. They let me go. They called me back a month later. And the best decision I've probably ever made in my career so far, is to tell them to fuck off. I'm not coming back. They called me exactly a month later. I'm like, hey, you want your position back? Slightly different position, but and Brian can attest to that because he worked for their company as well. But
You're supposed to work for me.
yes. Yeah, I was supposed to work for Brian.
Did he call you?
No, it was somebody else. Me and Brian and Brandon actually worked for the same company at one point in time. That's how I know Brandon.
Gotcha.
So we're all doing sales. And told him no, and decided to get on board here. That was literally the best decision I've made. And also in terms of happiness, right? I've done a lot of sales jobs here over the last 14 years, but I was never really truly satisfied. Like, you wake up and like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not happy. I'm not really, I would love to give that extra 10, 20%, but you're working for somebody that you don't really want to work for. You don't get the recognition, appreciation that you might deserve. And then making the decision to get on board here. And what still motivates me is you obviously want to better yourself. You, professionally speaking, you want to improve, but also, I don't think there's a limit for happiness. There's always a little bit of extra. You can be. I think a year from now, if I could double this crew right now and we can open a secondary or third location in another country, another state, of course that would make me happier. Financially speaking as well. That's always part of the equation, I think, but it shouldn't be all of it. Waking up and really knowing that you enjoy what you do, and you have a passion to grow the organization, and you really try everything, opposed to just doing your 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 kind of deal, and you do what you're supposed to, or you just do the bare minimum. That's not very fulfilling to me, because it doesn't serve a bigger picture. At one point, in a corporation, I make a little bit more money. I might move around a little bit, but in the end, it's I treat this like it's my own, and that's the very first time. It's very satisfying to wake up and knowing that I'll give that extra 2% just because this is I really like doing this. And then of course new staff significantly adds to that experience. It makes a huge difference when you have people that are loyal and that want to give just as much, and they're quality people, and they're actually good people too. If somebody would work here who's the best editor or videographer ever, but he's an asshole, there's no fucking way I want to work with him, man. No fucking way. I would fucking be miserable fucking dealing with that person, 100%. It has to be both. It has to be both. I think we know when somebody's really trying, because we went through some bad apples, but just like you said, and just growing this to, there's no limits. Of course, at one point in time, maybe we step back a little bit and have someone else run it partially for us, at some point. But that secondary, third location, and I think it's a huge possibility, regardless if it's in Europe or in Central America or a different state. That's the bigger picture, but also passion projects. Like, we would love to work on a documentary that we actually out of passion, that we want to work on over months and years on the side. Unfortunately, that costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of time. We're not quite in the position where you can say, hey, let's take 6 months off and film this. If we're ever in that position, we'd love to do that. Would love to I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to give you any hints yet. You have to come back for that one. But work on something that, might allow us one day to get, show ourselves on the big stage, on a big platform. And I think we have the resources to get there at one point.
That's exciting. So part 2 is coming soon then.
Yeah, you have to come back. Or we go to Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, that's so good. You said something I want to touch on is happiness, because I think, because I've experienced this where like I want to build this office or whatever, and you have it, it's like, it's cool, but it's not fulfilling. Or working with a client that you always wanted to work with, or making the money, like none of that is really happiness. I think for the moment it is, but long term it isn't. So like, when you think of happiness, like what makes you happy as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a man? Like, what's your happiness?
Well, I've got a beautiful wife at home and 2 kids, and they're both going to be 10 and 12 this year. So my end game and my real happiness is probably going to be that where I'm able to spend all my time with them. Right now, I'm kind of just working as hard as I can to get to that place. But in the short term, my happiness really does, and this might sound cheesy, but it's exactly what Chris said. I mean, it's like getting up, knowing that there's people out there that are just like, wow, I got to work with this company, Dream Pilot. And that, I mean, I get goosebumps. I mean, it's just so cool. And that's kind of where my happiness is, you know, having people out there not only respect you, but they feel like happy that they get to work with you.
So company culture is big for you guys then.
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to add too in terms of the happiness. You're taking that happiness home. I think everything you do in life essentially translates into, does it make you happy or not? You have a good job, can you provide for your mom? Can you provide for your family, your kids? You know, that's one aspect of it. But, you know, you being personally happy, working with friends is a huge one. It's not always easy. Don't get me wrong. Some people advise against it. That makes a big difference, you know, having that relationship, but separating the business. Sometimes it's tough, but it's also, it's a big factor, right? Opposed to working with someone that, you know, they might pretend to give a fuck, but in the end they don't.
You see them for 8 hours a day, and then they go home and forget all about you.
Yeah, what were you saying a second ago? I wanted to touch on that too. Shit, man, my memory's shot.
Oh, the clients that they feel lucky.
Yes, now I remember. So that was the first one, working with friends, with real friends. And then also just hearing or seeing the client after you deliver a product that just wows him. That gets me super fucking hyped. I'm stoked as fuck when the client calls me or when I see them. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Or when people first come here, I was like, oh, I didn't know you had this. You know, it's cool. Because I'm so used to this. I'm like, I walk in here, I'm like, you know, we can probably do better. Oh, there's better studios out there, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, people who walk in here the very first time and, oh, wow, that's cool. You know, even though it's, you know, the psych wall, you know, the second studio, the new set, just the office space.
I mean, when I walked in here, I was mind blown just by the experience.
Yeah, and it's Reno too, right? So you don't have that too often. In Vegas, of course, LA, you know, Bay Area, of course. But here, it's only very few people have something like this, right? Or,
let me ask you this: how much money have you put into this, equipment-wise? Because this doesn't look cheap by any means.
Well, one thing, we have an office manager because we're not too good at knowing all the numbers and specifics. I reinvest nearly every dime that I get into this. Yeah, I barely save enough to pay our bills. I would take a vacation or two per year. Maybe this is the final takeaway. Super important for me. I don't know how Chris feels about it, but I spend as much money as possible on the company. Always reinvesting into equipment. I'm constantly buying equipment. And not only that, but we are working on expanding our studio, and we just bought a production trailer. We're trying to convert a trailer into our production trailer for broadcasts. So that's where all of my energy goes, is to learning, development, and then, of course, the financial aspect of reinvesting into your company.
It's like Mr. Good. Beast for video production in Reno. Pretty much like reinvesting. I agree, because now we almost have like 3 or 4 video crews now, right? Me and Brandon could go to a shoot, get it done. We have Jason, Matt get it done. Jesse could get it done. You know, Brooke can do the photos. So we can have 3, 4 separate crews out right now, all working on projects. We have enough equipment to support all that now. Yeah,
that's good.
Where it used to be just like, hey, we go on a shoot, we take all of our equipment. You know, we might have another at the time, you know, 1 or 2 people part time, but they can't do it because we have all the fucking equipment with us. Right? Yeah. But now we have the possibility technically to run a live stream and somebody else, you know, doing event photography while somebody else is filming a wedding. That's super exciting to me, because then, you know, that helps us to grow, possibly get another studio, maybe in town, maybe elsewhere, maybe in Costa Rica, hopefully in Costa Rica.
Maybe in Vegas. We actually do work in Vegas.
A little hot for me, but as long as I have AC in the flex space, I'm good.
Man, it's hot. It's like probably like 115 right now.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, we worked in Tucson and Phoenix before too.
Yeah. I'm
just not ever seeing myself like, oh, it's 112 out. I love this, man. This is great. It's just I'm like sweating immediately. You know, it's dry heat at least. I don't hate it. Yeah. Because the fall and winter there is not bad, but
yeah. Let me ask you guys this: we're about to get to some juicy stuff. Like, I know you guys are like pull the juicy stuff out. This is it. If you could go, I don't say if. Let's just say there's 10 people watching this. who were where you both were at in 2020 or 2019, like right before things started to get crazy, what would you recommend these people do in order to be, I don't want to say like, because everyone has their own version of success, but like, let's just say financial wise, let's say someone's doing, I don't know, less than $100,000 a year in their business. Either it's like similar to yours or any other business. Like, what would you recommend that they do differently to scale financially and still be happy? Because I think entrepreneurs in general, when they make more money, if they don't know what makes them happy, they lose themselves in that and their business tanks.
I'll start on this.
You
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah,
You
okay.
have a better answer than I will.
I mean, the short answer is being, I think, open-minded. And what I mean with that is, and just like us, right, because you compared it to our business, explore different avenues. Don't just go down the photography route or video production. Be open-minded. Be flexible and try things out and see if they work for you. First of all, try them out to see if you like doing it. And then if it works out financially. And what we adapted is not just working on, 2 or 3 facets of the business, and going out and really trying like 10 different avenues. Trial and error, right? It's part of it if you can afford it. I know if it's a small business, it might be tough, but, give people a shot, We had a lot of people reach out to us or walk in like, hey, do you hire? But I don't think you truly know what you're looking for in terms of an employee unless you have maybe some bad ones in the beginning. Maybe that helped us finding the good ones. But yeah, just be open-minded. Try different things out, no matter if you're in retail, e-tail, or service industry, whatever it might be, right? You might sell a product like clothing. Go with a different product. Go with a different design. Maybe try a different designer. Sell to a different place. Walk into a Costco as an imbibe brewery and say, hey, you guys want to rep my products? Fuck yeah, turn their business around. Give it an extra shot. Don't be shy. Go out there. Rejection, happens all the time, but 1 out of that 100 times they're going to say yes.
That's important.
Yeah. And then it's going to change your life.
I love that. I think everyone needs to hear that because rejection's like the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs give it 1 or 2 knocks before, like, hey, there's like one more door. They'll say yes. You gotta keep going. I always say when they say no, you say next. Like, keep going. So I love that. How about you, man?
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. I mean, I knew Chris was gonna have a great answer. Same.
Piggyback off of his.
Yeah, being open, and then also, when I was first kind of starting out, I think this is super, super good for somebody to hear. Could also be dangerous advice to give to somebody, but I felt like when I was, deciding whether or not to go all in to this, I was scared to like jump and like invest everything and like do everything I could, quit my day job and like do everything, go full on into it. And I was making pretty good money. I mean, I would make like, 40 grand a year while I was working at another place. And it was, my personal life was taking a hit and my other job definitely took the brunt of that hit. But when I did the jump, my uncle who's a successful entrepreneur himself. He owns a very successful engineering firm. He started a distillery, Northern Nevada's first distillery. And he told me, he's like, Brandon, I think you're like the kid on the diving board that's too scared to jump and you're looking at the water. And it took me a second to like understand what he was saying. But when I did everything I needed to do, I looked back and I was like, holy shit, I was the kid, like too scared to dive into the water. I knew the water was down there. I wasn't going to like hit concrete. But I was just like locked up, like too scared. But when I jumped, I realized, I looked back, I was like, man, that wasn't too high. And it really did provide a way better life for me than what I was heading in the first place. So maybe if you're considering something and you're kind of unsure about yourself, maybe just jump, like maybe try it. Don't be open-minded and try it because you don't know what's going to happen. And the worst thing that can happen is you never do try.
That's good. I think everyone needs to make that jump. Whether it's investing into better equipment or, knocking on more doors. Maybe it's not doors, maybe it's phone calls, or maybe it's DMs, or maybe it's showing up. Like you're saying, just walk into places. I think that jump is important because for me, that's been all my breakthroughs, has been just like knowing that you're uncomfortable But when you take the jump, it's like, it's not bad. The worst thing hey, you may need to take a few steps back. Okay, so like I always ask this question at the end of mostly every show. And this is hypothetical. I don't want to speak anything to existence.
Sure.
But let's just say tomorrow's your last day on Earth. And everything in your existence is obliterated, like wiped out. Like you can't trace, you can't Google anything. It's gone. Right? And all you have left to leave the world is a little paper where you can write maybe 2 sentences down. And that's it. What would you write on that paper?
Oh my God.
Oh, you're going deep on this one. Who do I want to make happy with this year? Let's see. So I'm dying tomorrow, right? You said.
Not dying. You're just gone. Like no
It's
trace
just
of you.
different planet or something.
Just yeah, different dimension. Like gone. Like you can't YouTube anything. You can't Google anything.
Do you know where I'm going to go, or do we know that?
Let's just say you're going to a better dimension than this.
Different dimension.
But you're leaving back something
Just like a little piece
for
of paper.
people to remember you or to be impacted by you. Whatever. Like you have a piece of paper. You can write 2 sentences down. Like what would those 2 sentences be?
I mean, for my family and girlfriend would have to be the passwords for my stuff, you know, so they can access all the good stuff. But no, usually
That's
most.
the first I've heard that.
Well, think about it too.
It is
It's like,
very
hey,
important
you know,
to
I have a
have
lot of
this.
personal stuff on there, like I want people to see, and you know, if they don't have the password, good luck to you. But I mean, most people probably respond, "Hey, I love you, mom. I love you, wife, kids." You know. But I feel like that's a given. I mean, if you really love those people, then they probably already know. You know, I might even be the person, you know, it would take me all damn day to put some on that paper and then forget, and then, you know, just move on to the different dimension without even putting anything on the damn paper.
I would say.
You got a good one? You got a good answer?
I got a nice sophisticated
Yeah, I
answer.
try to think of like a good one, but
No, for real, and I really do feel like this. I would say, always do the best you can. Never be afraid to be yourself. And I feel like the purpose of life is to. We're not going to die with our riches, right? The story is like you're never going to die. Take all the gold with you when you go. But you will take your happiness and your memories. So I subscribe to happiness, like a happy life. So yeah, always do the best you can. Never be afraid to be yourself, and try to find happiness.
I love that.
Yeah.
be happy, yeah.
Be happy.
Be happy would be a
happy.
short version of that, yeah.
Be happy.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think, like, what would I tell my son, Orion or Carradine? I would tell him, like, yeah, always do the best you can. Never be afraid to be yourself, and be happy.
I would put a Jordan Belfort's quote on there if I could remember it now. It's terrible, man. That's my
wanna-
All I
favorite
can
quote.
think of is that.
Yeah, let me,
It's
pull it up.
if you
see if I can find it.
you keep your bullshit story you keep telling yourself is why you can't achieve it. You know, stop.
Drop and roll.
No, man, this
Here,
is
I'm
crazy.
pulling it
Man.
up.
I usually have it
Joseph's
like
got-
this.
Well, there's one that says, well, there's 20 quotes, I guess, from him.
No, this was like the one quote. I never remember shit.
quote.
The guy is a fantastic author, I will say.
I never remember shit. But this is, and I hate.
If you give people good enough why, they always figure out the how.
No,
That's
it's
not
stop telling yourself the bullshit story as of why you can't achieve it, something like that.
I'm just blessed to have this conversation. You know, we touched on so much good stuff, from dreaming big to happiness to, culture to just investing back into yourself and showing up. There's a lot of good nuggets in this podcast that I know everyone listening will, they're really appreciative. And by the way, if you're watching this, take notes. I know we're at the end of this episode. Go back, take notes, because as entrepreneurs, it's important to take notes and to take information, good information like this, and apply it to your life and to your business. So, gentlemen, I'm grateful. I'm beyond blessed to just be in this presence with you guys and to do this episode. To the audience listening in, what's next for you guys? How could they get connected? How could they hire you guys? And we'll also add that to the show notes too.
You want me to start?
Let me start because I guess I don't want you to trump this. We're right now. What's next for Dream Pilot, in my opinion, Chris handles the business for the most part. Except I do want to push us into the next realm of live streaming, multi-camera broadcasting. We could really use some help getting into that. We do a lot of it for clients, but it's like just that one conversation with one person in one industry will fruit all these other different jobs. So we're in a couple of industries. It's hard to break into other industries. So if you have any live stream, multi-camera, live streaming, or corporate meetings, or sporting events, or MMA events, or concerts, festivals, stuff like that, we want to get in there. We do have an extreme, huge capability, and we're able to offer services at much lower price points than what's currently out there. So that's really where we would love to go. So if you have any live streaming needs, please get a hold of us. Chris is the perfect person. We actually have a sales@dreampilotfilms.com email, which Brian, our sales director, will go to. But Chris, I'll let you take the rest of that answer.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't mentioned where yet. So we're on 1430 Greg Street, Suite 502. In case you're local, walk in. We've gotten jobs. People walking in like, hey, I want to hire you guys. Happened just 3 weeks ago.
Nice.
So come in. We'll give you a free tour. As long as you're going to hire us, I'll give you a free tour. Sales@dreampilotfilms.com. It's Brandon@dreampilotfilms.com. Chris@dreampilotfilms.com. Brian
With a Y.
@dreampilotfilms.com. Yeah, and also, I'm sure you have a lot of business owners on there, a lot of interesting people on your podcast, but don't forget, video production is fun as fuck. It's fun as hell. I used to sell furniture and fucking imaging supplies and all kinds of shit. That shit ain't fun. This is fun. So that's also why we're still doing it, but it makes a big difference. But no, yeah, come by to the studio. We have 2 studios right next to each other, Suite 501, 502. Phone number?
Yeah, 775-683-9830. We'll just point out there, we're in Sparks, Nevada, but we do work California, West Coast, Las Vegas pretty often.
Anywhere.
We're international. We shoot in Mexico a couple times this year so far. We can come anywhere. And again, we're hard workers, and we'll work for less. So.
Well, then the best bang for the buck.
Best bang for the buck.
That's not cheap. It's best bang for the buck. That's what we offer.
Yeah, commercials, documentaries,
Best bang
promo
for the buck.
videos,
Podcasts.
Yeah. This is also in the studio, right? I don't know if you're going to tell people, but
this
is the Dream Pilot Film Studio, boys. It's not Joseph's studio. This is our studio right here.
It looks like it. The aesthetic looks like
it could be. It could be. But if you want a podcast looking similar to this one, it's 1430 Greg Street.
And we
Sparks.
appreciate being on here too, man. I mean, this was super cool. Like I said earlier during one of the breaks, this was
it's fun.
I think our first podcast. So this is being on the hot seat, I guess they say. But this was super cool, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
man,
having us.
absolutely. All right, guys. This episode was awesome. Like I said, take notes, go back, pause it, take notes, but also subscribe. If you're catching this for the first time, subscribe, like, comment below. And every week we drop a new episode here at Trailblazers Talk. So we'll catch you on the next episode.